And yes, we are live. Good evening, everyone. I hope we're having a good day, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time it is where you are and where you're watching me from. Welcome to. Okay, great. Our audio is super, super excited to have everyone join. It's it's a delight to have everybody here. Thank you all for joining, watching, and thank you for just being here. Deeply appreciate you. And I hope that the Career Catalyst Week has been very beneficial to you and you have been applying all of the things that, pertain to your career. You have been applying and doing your homework, and I hope you have been seeing results. And to all those who are submitting their homework to the Isaac Works admin, kudos to you. And keep up the hard work. I am super pleased with everyone who has been doing the work, and I know that you will see the fruits of the work that you have done. I appreciate everyone for your time, and again, today's day 4. Yay! So from day 1, we have talked about knowing your worth, understanding the market, and craft. Yesterday, we talked about crafting the application that actually gets responses. And then now, today, we'll be talking about interview excellence, converting conversations to contracts. So, here's the truth that I want to share. Most people think that interviews are about proving they can do the job. It's like you go there, with that, oh, I can do the job, I know what to do, all of the things. But this table, that's just like the bare, I would say the first step. I don't want to say bare minimum, it's the first step, right? The real goal when you go for an interview is to prove that you're not just qualified, right? But you want them to believe and know that you are the best investment they can make for that role. Did you get what I just said? That you are the best investment for that role. That is one of the reasons, or will I say that should be one of the goals for you when you're going for an interview. And you might be wondering, why such a goal, right? Like, why such a goal? Because, yesterday when we were speaking, we talked about how the interview manager, right? The hiring manager, not the interview manager, is looking for his where he will put in the money that has been allocated for that new hire, where it will be most profitable for him. That is what the hiring manager is looking for. So you want to go there speaking to that hey, if you invest in me, that is, if you give me an offer, you are not just giving me an offer, you're making a brilliant investment, and this investment is going to yield profitable results. Remember that your interview is not just interrogation. You're not going there to just plead your cause, right? They are negotiations. Every word that comes out of your mouth is a negotiation because they're checking, is this going to go on our way? Is this person culture fit? Is this going to bring a mutual value add for us? Right? Is this person going to be of incredible help to the team? Right? Both sides are asking. You're asking them questions. They're asking you, but please don't go to the interview and all they're the only ones asking you questions. Have your questions. That's why we have to do the research. When you understand your industry, you understand the industry you apply to, you understand the industry the company you are applying to is operating in, you have useful questions to ask, right? You have useful questions to ask. And when you approach the interview, that is when you'll be sitting with that hiring manager, You will not go there sounding condescending, putting yourself down, and make it look like this job is a favor. And if they don't hire you, it's over for you. That's not how to go to an interview. You go to an interview as a peer, not a beggar, because everything changes once you give you the offer. One time, I had the privilege to speak with an executive who was terrified about interviews. So she just needed me to share some tips to help her prepare and be better ready. So we did a trial, and that trial helped me to remove her from that mentality of this company is helping me, because that was the mentality she was going into the interview with, that this organization is doing her a favor. And I was telling her that, look, with your knowledge, with all of the things you know, the company is not helping you. You are also going there as value to help them get from point A to point B, right? They're not paying you your salaries for free. You are going there to offer value, and that value was what I was able to articulate to her, and she saw it, and that boosted her confidence. And I think after she had a couple of interviews, she was able to, land a, well, well, I won't call it a, she didn't move. So what happened was she had the interview. She wanted to understand, she wanted to build the confidence before she was ready to move. So that was a goal for her going for interviews. But when I saw how she was, more confident, applying for more roles, going for those interviews, showing up, and her feedback from me was very encouraging because I saw that she was no longer going for those interviews with her head down. She was now going with her shoulders squared and ready to share because she knew she had things of value to offer. So, the interview psychology matrix. When you go into the interview, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, it's a full metrics, right? Different things are going on. Before you worry about answers, you need to understand the psychology of the interview. You need to have the growth mindset that lets you go and show up and show out. You don't go there. Remember what I was saying earlier, that you don't go there with your head bowed down as though, and I'm saying this for people that are Nigerians, Africans, you know, especially those of us that are going to apply for remote roles, international remote roles, where sometimes it can be you feel a bit intimidated by the caliber of the interview committee. And so you feel like, what am I going to say? How am I going to present myself? And I'm here to say you can present yourself thoroughly well. And that's why we are here. I'm here to coach you through that process so that when you are going to that interview, your mindset is right. So when you show up, they're already excited. When you start to speak and you guys are having the negotiations, you're talking about the issues and you're saying all the things you can bring of value, they can feel your energy. They're excited. They're like, I want this person, right? That is what you want. You want to go to the interview and leave a mark so that when the interview is done, they're like, the hiring manager says that's the person I want. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. You want to know what they're really thinking, right? So when they say, tell me about yourself, which is always going to be the first question, I think if you can draft a mini draft of what that response will be for you, that will be you crushing it for the first 5, 10, 15 minutes of your conversation, right? They are really thinking, when they ask you that, tell me about yourself, they're thinking, you should be thinking in your head, can I quickly understand how to put it? When you're draft, so let me say answer this two ways. What when they say to you, tell me about yourself, you as the job applicant, that's in the interview, you should be thinking, how do I present myself as value? Them on the other side listening to you, they are asking themselves, how can I quickly understand the value that this person is going to bring and see them as a perfect fit in this organization? So, an example response would be, they ask me, so now let's role play. So we want to role play so that you see what that looks like. And then you can tailor that to the industry that you're in. You can draft your statement and practice it. Practice it in front of a mirror, paste it there, read it off. And I like to say you should use a mirror because you can write it up in a big A4 sheet of paper. When they say, tell me about yourself, write it with a marker, paste it on your mirror and speak it to yourself. You speak it to yourself to the point where you know without a shadow of doubt what you're saying. You believe what you're saying. That is where the magic happens. So, for example, let's go. I started my career in finance, where I built strong analytical foundations over time. I shifted into operations, managing a team of 15, and I streamlined our processes that saved my last company 50 million naira annually. Now I'm excited to bring that mix of finance, discipline, and operational leadership into this role with XYZ. Do you see the way I answered the question? I wasn't rigid. My body was sort of, I was speaking like, and please don't go to interview sitting like a robot. You just, yes, no, this is this, that, that, that. There's no, you don't feel relaxed. You want to create the impression. You want to feel relaxed. They need to know that it's easy for you. That's why I said you have to speak this to yourself in the mirror. Because when you say and say and say it to yourself, it becomes easy. Now, another big question that usually always comes up is, what are your weaknesses? The panel will be thinking, is this person self aware? And how do they handle growth? Those are the two major things that the committee that's interviewing you are watching out for. Now, for you, this is how you respond. Earlier in my career, I struggled with overcommitting to projects. To improve, I began using project management tools like Trello, setting clearer boundaries. Now, my colleagues know me as someone reliable but also realistic about timelines. Did you see that there was no negative? I didn't put myself down. There was no negative connotation like, oh, I'm a very meticulous person. You just give that one line. In this response, there's a jab. You see, I said to you that this interview is a negotiation. And in negotiation, there's what's called the jab, jab, and then the punch. That's what I did. Earlier in my career, I struggled with overcommitting to projects, jab, jab. To improve, I began using project management tools like Trello and setting clearer boundaries. So, to the two problems I posed, that is struggle with overcommitting to projects, I preferred two solutions: a tech solution to solve that problem, and then my own self-aware, self-agency process that I put in place, which is boundaries. When you speak like that, then okay, this person's self-aware, they know what they're doing. Not just what's your weakness. My weakness is I overcommit, I overstretch, I just do so much, and I don't know how to say no. And then you stop it there. No, you see, it's a symphony. It's this beautiful flow. That's why you have to be prepared. You don't just wing it in the interview. Next, why the another question they ask is, why do you want this role? Now, this is another place you can shine because they are thinking in their mind, is this person genuinely interested, or are they just job hunting because the country is the type of way they are just looking for money. So the company wants to gauge that. So how do you present that part is the main thing now that we're speaking about. So when they say things like, what do you want, why do you want this role? Here's a good response you can give. This role excites me because it combines two things I care about deeply: technology that solves Africans' market problems and culture that invests in employees' growth. This alignment makes me confident that I'll thrive here. Remember that industry research I said you should do? Remember how I spoke about how you should understand the organization? When you give these kinds of response, it's not the cliche, why do you want this role? Well, I believe that in the organization, this is the cliche things I've seen in interviews. The way I've applied, I've been here for too long, and it's only normal for me to want more. I'm like, bro, this like really? Is that what you want to say? Anyways, so you get the idea. Now, there's something I want to also talk about, and that is the four interview personalities. Every interviewer has a type. If you don't recognize this, you may clash. So, when you go for an interview, that is why we talked about researching the people. Usually, when an organization sends you a meeting invite for an interview, the entire people that will be on that interview panel will be copied in the email. So don't just sit there and say, "Oh, they sent me email. You didn't prepare." Check the names of the people that are on the panel. Go and research them. Try to have an understanding of who they are. You will know. So, when you do know, try to fit that person in one of these personalities so that you can speak to their personality. So it's no more like you are winking in the dark. You are going for that interview process with precision and accuracy in your deployment of questions and answers tailored to the personality of the people that are on the team. Again, you might not know all of it. But when you understand these four interview personalities, you can tailor some of your responses to address each personality so that either ways you will know that you have hit the nail on the head. So let's go with the personalities. The first personality is the analytical. This panel or the person in question is data driven, right? They are data driven, they are process focused, they are risk averse. What they want is facts. They want proof. They want to see systems, the things you have done. So you don't just come there and just say, I made 25 million, I did this, I did that. They want to see the proof. They want to ask you the numbers, how you did it. So you have to go in depth. The language that they want to hear is the data shows. So with this kind of person, when you do industry research and then you say things like based the data shows, based on analysis, based on reports by Forbes, based on reports by business reports, ran through the MSBNC blah 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 reports, and when I analyzed it, this is what I saw. That will make the interviewer more confident in interviewing you. For example, an engineer manager asking you about methods, right? How do you solve like a drilling problem? So you cannot just go there and say, well, we submerge the stuff, we now do this, you now do that. When you share the way you do it, you can now share how it's done industry standard, right? How it's practiced globally. When you mix your responses this way, your people, the team, they are more confident. They trust you more. They understand that look, this person knows what they're saying. Now um um the next interview personality will be the driver. This driver personality, they are result oriented. They are time conscious and they're a bit impatient. They don't waste their time. Don't tell them too many stories. They ask you this, go straight to the point in some responses. Because we understand that some responses you have to dig deeper, you have to give it more context, you have to show up differently. So for this one, they want speed, efficiency, and impact. When you tell them that I did this in 2 days, they're like, yeah, that's the person I want. They want to see speed and accuracy. They want to see timeliness, results. So the kind of language you speak to this kind of person is the result from this project was the bottom line impact included XYZ. For example, a startup CEO who just wants to know how fast you can deliver. Don't go there and go and start explaining, to just hit the nail on the head while explaining clearly and showing results. The next personality will be the expressive. This visionary, right, is relationship focused. They're enthusiastic, they are more conversational. So usually with these kinds of people, you find that your interview can stretch if they as the conversation is going on, if they like you, if there's something there, the interview can go for over an hour. In some cases, I've seen interviews that have gone for over an hour, inching towards 2 hours. And it's not like they were arguing, but it was just this conversation, like peer to peer, in depth understanding of the problem. And they were just going. So you would think that they were in a meeting as opposed to an interview. So here, this expressive personality, they want to see energy. So this in this kind of interview, come like bring your vibe, everything. They want to see cultural fit. They want to see your passion. They want to see your vibe. They want to see that you are an energetic person. Your personality, your aura, the vibe you exude in the interview. That's how you get those kinds of people. Now, and the fourth personality group will now be the amiable. This kind of leader is team first. They don't like fights. They don't like war. They like peace always. If you don't know this joke, ask your Nigerian friend. They will tell you. They are team first. They are a consensus builder. They are after stability. They want to see trust. They want to see collaboration in your journey. They want to see harmony. They want to see growth mindset. They want to see that you are a self starter, someone that you don't need anyone to push you. The kind of language you want to hear is I work well with teams. Collaboration is key. I love it when the team will work together in harmony. Trust is major for me. You know, when you give examples of how you were betrayed and how you pushed past those kinds of things, it will appeal to the amiable personality. Now, think about your past interviews. With these four personalities I have spoken about, reflect on your past interviews. Which of these four personalities have you met? Drop it in the chat. All right. Now, let's go deeper. The virtual interview mastery system. And I share this for those who usually would have maybe first and second stage interviews virtually. And then, usually, sometimes, if the role is not remote, the final stage you have to go to the office. For these online interviews, I want to just share that some ideas that can just help you, some systems, right? Because virtual interviews are now basic, like they are standard, right? Usually, it's very common, right? The good news is that these virtual interviews level the playing field. It allows you to be in your comfort zone before you now probably, if the role is in person, before you go to the office, you're already familiar with the terrain. Like when I say terrain, you're familiar with the people on the panel, you know them. You're also in your comfort zone. For example, you're having the interview from your home, so you don't feel too stressed. Yeah. So your geography doesn't matter, but your setup for those interviews matter. And now let's go deeper. The technical excellence framework is something that you need to master in your virtual interview system. Your environment, please, and please, and please. I think this is one of my favorite things to talk about because I have done hundreds of interviews, online interviews, and I have seen all sorts. So let's go. The environment. Make sure you have a neutral background. This is very, very important. Good lighting. If you say you want to work remotely, you should already be investing in light, in a microphone, in a, if you well again, These realities may differ depending on what part of the world you are in. But if you are in Nigeria, in Africa, where you understand sometimes we might have electricity issues, you should have access to an inverter, something that will generate power for you, because you never know the time that the interview will be scheduled. You want to make sure that you are ready, right? So if the time they schedule it is really late at night in your nation, you can't go outside. You can't use natural light. You need to have artificial lighting. So for those of us in Nigeria, I would tell you, go to an electrical store and tell them that you want to have bright lighting in your home. That you need this thing. You need the place to be bright. The electricity office shop will give you the right lighting. Explain what you're trying to achieve, that you want when you come on camera, it will be bright, there will be no shadows or darkness or any sort. They know what to do. Invest in a beautiful background, right? Like me, you can have maps. That's something. You can have a whiteboard. You can choose to have a bookshelf. You can choose to have a painting. Not an offensive painting, please. Something that shows your personality. Yeah, please, because it's your office. Invest in a good sitting area, right? Invest in camera and audio. Now, I am so grateful for China and all of their inventions and all of the things they're manufacturing every day. So it makes having crisp audio and crisp cameras easier. You don't need, if you know that your laptop, the camera is not so good, you can invest in a webcam. These are things that when you want, see, when you know that you want to do remote work in 6 months, you need to plan. You don't buy all these things at once because sometimes they can be capital intensive. So, eye level camera, external mic, a headset in case there's noise and you maybe due to the accents that they're speaking, you don't want to hear it off your laptop speaker. You need a headphone to help you, right? I think I have, hold on, let me see. You can also get a headphone like this, something like this, or if you can't, if you don't even have a headphone, there's no biggie. You can use the stringy ones, right? Or you can use your AirPods. But the reason why I don't want you to use AirPods, right, is because sometimes the audio can be muffled with AirPods, especially your feedback, and you will not know. And sometimes because the interview panel, they're interviewing a lot of people, they won't tell you that your audio is bad. Oh my God. Yeah. They won't tell you that your audio is bad. They might do it the first 2 minutes, but if they keep seeing that your audio is having issues, they will just wrap up the interview and know that this person is a no show. Yeah. Which is why I tell you, please, before you go on the interview, do testing, test it, get your friend to join a simple Google Meet or Zoom, test all your lighting, test everything. Show up correctly, especially for your online interviews. Then make sure you have backups. You have a laptop that's battery is fully charged. Have your phone as backup fully charged, just in case something happens and the audio is no longer working and you need to switch devices, right? And then engagement. If you notice today's session, I have been more, there's a way I have been, moving, and it's intentional. I'm trying to show you because today we're talking about what virtual interview. So as I'm communicating, I'm trying to get you to see the way you may not use a lot of your hands, but you can move, you can shake your head, you can say yes, gestures. Look at the camera, look into the camera, use hand gestures, lean in slightly. When you say, what did you, when you want to hear what they say, pardon me, can you repeat that? So when you say repeat that, don't say repeat that and you move back. Repeat that, you go closer. So it feels like, oh, this person is really engaging with us. Keep your notes discreet. Even if you're taking notes, don't now say, excuse me, hold on, let me quickly write that. Don't do that. Don't do it. Even if you're taking notes, be discreet. Position your hand in a way that they won't even know that you're taking notes. And then you take notes. Especially if they're asking you questions and you want to make sure that you are remembering the things that they're speaking. Now, I hope that that has been useful. Yeah. There was a time, so okay, I've heard of people who go to their friends' houses, right? Who they know has good lighting, good electricity, fast internet. They go there for interviews. They say, please, I have an interview at this time. Can I come and just quickly do it and go? And when you go to your friend's house and you have your interview, please be courteous. Understand, go with a gift. Don't just go say, it's my friend. It's my friend. I'm going to their house. Don't do that. Go, even if it's with fruits, oranges, you just buy, say, oh, thanks for giving me your space to have my interview. And you drop the oranges and you go there. It's just courtesy. I just thought to throw that in. And then if you know you have a lot of money and you can do better things, do, please. Now let's move on to cultural intelligence for international rules, right? When you are going for these interviews, you need to have cultural intelligence, especially for international roles. Now, time zone respect. I beg you, especially for nations like the America, the United States, Canada, where you know that the time zone usually late at least 6 7 hours. At least the UK, give or take, depending on the area, sometimes it's 1 2 3. The time zone or the whole of Europe, usually 2 3 4 ish hours. But the United States, we're talking 8 7 6 10 hours. Canada, same thing. So when you know you have those kinds of interviews, please confirm the exact time. Join at least 10 to 5 minutes before the interview. It's courtesy. Don't go there at the exact time because usually, let me tell you something. When you go there early, you can have small talk before the interview session starts. You can engage, you can hear them talking, they might be chit chatting with themselves, but as they're chit chatting, you're getting to know them, the tension is reducing, you're feeling like, okay, I think this is a good place. So you see, be more direct. When they ask you a question, please don't go around the bush, especially for remote roles. Please, when you are asked a question, focus on your question, answer your question. If you need to tell a story, make sure the story ties to the question that they've asked you. When they ask you, describe a difficult moment in your life, please, even if you want to talk about sad family situations, tie it to morale at work, tie it to how you bounced back. Don't just tell the sad story to gain pity, and it doesn't always work because it's not, the system is different. All right. When you are also sharing um, insights, especially for this international remote work, try to bring local perspective, local insights. So, for example, if the company you're applying for is a sales organization, it's a sales role, for example, explain a bit of how sales is done in Nigeria, if you're in Nigeria or whichever country you are in, if you're in Canada, if you're in the US, no, if you're in Africa, any part of Africa, yeah, because usually this is for those that are, well, depends. But if you're in Africa, in Nigeria, when you're answering questions, don't just focus on global perspectives alone. Don't just be calling big companies that are popular. Bring local context, local insights, marry it together, and then share what you're sharing. Okay? For example, let me give an example about that. You can say something like, I understand the US market, customer acquisition costs are a big challenge. In Nigeria, we face similar issues with payment systems and have built solutions to reduce onboarding friction. I'd love to apply that here. Do you see what this response is like? So it's not just saying, hey, global perspective, I understand that customer acquisition is high, and I hope that I'll bring solutions. No, bring context to show that that problem is similar in Nigeria. And, we go. Virtual interviews actually erases borders for African professionals. It's an opportunity for us to really play at the top. So if you can master the tech, you gain clarity in the way you deliver, you can compete with anyone and with anywhere. It's very important. Now, strategic questioning. This is another thing we need to talk about. Most candidates always focus on answering. What do you bring to the table? You say, I bring X, Y, Z. Excuse me. How do you solve for clients, difficult clients? I solve for clients, difficult clients by doing X, Y, Z. Don't always do that. Elite candidates know that your questions reveal your level. Don't just go there and answer all the questions. You don't answer anything, or you don't ask intelligent questions. You just go there and you're like, what is the culture of the organization? Bro, you think they will tell you? Even if they tell you, you can't know it till you get in. There's something that no matter how they explain it, they can say anything to get you in. So that question is like the chit chat time. That's when you ask those kinds of things. Like when it's done and they're asking, okay, is there any other thing you want to talk about? You ask that. That's not the main thing. Remember that the questions you ask this organization will reveal what you know and how smart you are. So for entry level guys, these are the kinds of questions you ask. Make sure your question is focused on learning. Like let that be the what helps your questions. So for example, you can ask a question like, what's a typical day like in this organization? And listen. When you're listening, bring in your listening skills. Rephrase it when they're done. Rephrase a bit of what they've said and say, "Is this what is this what you mean? Is this what you mean? Is this what you mean?" And then they nod and say yes. For mid-level, strategic focus. The kinds of question you ask is, what challenges is the team facing right now? Again, when they explain, pay attention, rephrase what they had said, and say, "Is this what you're saying?" That shows that you listened attentively and you understood the question they answered. Then for senior level, the big boys and girls at the top, what market dynamic what market dynamics are shaping your industry strategy? Now that is how you know you make a mark. Now there's also questions that have to do with currency, your pay. People don't you just say, oh, they're paying you $4,000. Thank you. Yes, agree. You sign, but you just keep. You don't ask intelligent questions around your salary, and many people don't also ask not just salary, the currency itself. So let's go. Let me explain to you to understand. For the Naira paying rules, right? Do you speak if you are if you are if you are interviewing within your geographic location? Do you speak to the interviewer about economic volatility? Do you speak about inflation, all the things, cost of goods, transportation, all those things? Do you ask those kinds of questions, or you just um I just want extra 200,000 on top of that. I would like, no, don't speak like that. Do you think about growth strategies like, okay, if this is implemented and we grow in XYZ%, will this impact salaries? Do you see what I'm saying? For the dollar and pound in euro paying rules, can you ask questions like, how will the time zone difference? How will my time zone difference match with the entire team's time zone difference? Usually, here they would now tell you things like, oh, they have people that are already working from Nigeria, other parts of Africa, and here's how they manage it. So you know that you are more confident knowing that, okay, you're in the right place. Now, instead of only answering this, you know, another thing you can do is ask questions about project management, projects that they are doing. Ask questions about how their strategies are aligning with their stakeholders. Ask them to tell you, you know, things that collaborative projects that they've handled. and how did it impact team morale, all those kinds of things. So make sure you position your questions to be strategic, make sure they are collaborative, and make sure that they are problem solving questions. Don't just throw in whatever. Now, salaries negotiation. This is where people freeze. Now, let's just dive right into it a bit. It's always important. You remember one of the sessions we had where we spoke about the entry roles, the high payers, the middle payers, and the low payers. Go back to that video, watch it again to help you understand. Research, see what the pay scale is in Jobberman, the pay scale for it. I think there's a website called Pay Scale. Check factor in inflation when you are, and remember the organization you're applying for. Make sure that whatever you are applying in terms of salary negotiation, it fits. If the company is small and you know that they can't pay you, don't ask what you know they will not be able to pay. Test the waters and be very careful. Make sure that you aim for 15 to 25% above the offer that you've been given. That's the best wiggle room you can get. Some people do 50, a whole 50%. Again, it depends, but the safe percentage is 15 to 25%. For the dollar and pound rules, remember that there are so many resources that where you can check salaries. Make sure you do your investigation. Consider remotes if there are perks for remote offers. Aim for 10 to 20% above the offer. Push for benefits. You know, good HMO, healthcare, tools for work, remote work, office setup, all those kinds of things. Don't just focus on salary alone. There's so many benefits you can negotiate. Spa, so many things, health, all those things. Now, here's another thing I'd like us to speak about, which is in everything you do, make sure you are grateful. And here's what I mean. Sh- When I say grateful, be sorry, okay, let me just say maybe I'll say gratitude. Gratitude, be grateful. It's not just saying, oh, thank you very much every 2 minutes. That's not what I mean. What I mean is at the beginning of your session, you say like a good thank you for having me here. Mid into the session, if you know that you know you are into the session, let's say the interview is 40 minutes. By the 20 minutes mark, make sure you say something that has to do with another thank you. And then by the end of the meeting, ensure you have a beautiful closing that has a good thank you as well. Show excitement. Don't be like don't be sad and be dreary and grumpy and it's like yeah you now bend your neck like that. Don't do that. Go straighten your square your shoulders, speak confidently, speak with energy, laugh, be fun, be exciting. Okay, then do your research, show data. Everything you're saying, have your bullet points of things that you're going to share. Value reinforcement. Make sure that you are bringing value. Tie your skills directly to the company's pain points, especially. And then do some, what's the word now? Do some understudy. Guess problems of the department that you are going into. Just stimulate those things and profess solutions to them. Ask for equity if you can. The benefits is if it's startup, you know how those things work. Even organizations, some big organizations give equity. Think about growth. Ask for questions on growth. What's the growth trajectory on the role? What are the training opportunities? And then ask if they will be flexible. Then when you are negotiating, because usually in the interview you can speak about salaries. Many times they do. Make sure that the end is a collaborative close. That is, have this question as your back as your card. Say things like, "How can we make this work for me and for you?" That's another way that you can sound super 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 um you know good. Multiple options. Give options, right? When you say you want more money, If they don't have more money, can you give that option? If they don't have more money and the other option, can there be another option? Right? Can you say, okay, even if nothing is being given at this time, can there be a review we can speak about in 6 months' time? Those are things you can negotiate. It's not just, oh, they refuse to increase the salary by the 50% I asked, and so I'm not going to take the offer. What if at that time they are not sure, but in 6 months they'll be able to do that? So those are the things you can negotiate. Okay? All right. Remember, negotiation is not just about winning or losing, it's about designing partnerships where both sides, that is you and the interviewing panel, they feel like they have gained something. Okay? Right. Now, in closing, remember that interviews are strategic and conversational, not interrogations. Remember that virtual interviews plus cultural intelligence is what will make you a borderless worker. Ask smart questions, reveal your career level. Negotiation is collaboration and not confrontation. Your homework. Practice this. The you remember the tell me about yourself. Practice that. Practice the network navigation, how to build relationships. The questioning framework that we spoke about. Research the salary range for the roles that you're targeting, and for those at Isaac Works, please send the homework to the team, um, to the admin, so that we can get it. I would also drop it in the chat. So let me go over the homework again. Practice the questioning framework, and then research the salary ranges for your role and share. The questioning framework, let me go back to it so that that is the learning focus for entry level, the strategic, that is what a typical day looks like, what challenges is the team facing right now. Practice that. And then for the senior level, what market dynamics are shaping the industry? Practice those questions, and the currency specific ones where we spoke about the economic volatility, and ask about the market, remote team development, and all of those things. I hope that this has been useful to you. Please share this video with anyone you know who's applying in this time, and video will be beneficial to them. Like and comment. Subscribe to our channel. This encourages me to continue to share more content. Tomorrow we'll be talking about network navigation, how to build relationships that create opportunities. Because the truth is, the best jobs are not applied for, they are referred. That's what we're going to talk about next week. So see you tomorrow, and be ready to turn your connections to opportunities. Thank you again for joining us. If you would like to be a part of Isaac Walks job board, please send us a DM. You can send us a DM on Instagram. You can send us a DM on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to share the link and you can join us. Until I come your way tomorrow, stay well and remember, you can do this, okay? Keep your head up and keep doing your best. Goodbye.